That brings us to the final topic for this morning's session on emotional and mental health support. And we have a number of speakers on this particular topic, and the first is Thomas Coomer.
Is the first contribution. Thomas Coomer.
Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Coomer and I'm very proud to say that I am the first Youth Parliament representative for Delyn in North Wales. When I was elected, like the rest of you, I ran on 3 key issues, and one of which was the improvement of emotional and mental health support for young people in Wales. 1 in every 10 young persons suffers with mental health issues on a daily basis, and this issue is on the rise. What makes matters worse is that the services that we have to help young people and support young people with their mental health issues simply cannot cope with the amount of young people who do suffer. And we now see a waiting list for CAMS, which is over a year long. Another serious issue here is that most young people are only referred to these services when a situation has reached crisis point, putting greater stress on these services, as they are only involved when matters are as bad as they could possibly be. If a young person had been referred to these services or to other early intervention services before matters had gotten as bad as they were, then we could stop the progression down this terrible journey that they have taken. If we trained teachers, youth workers and other first instance workers to recognise, understand and have the expertise to recognise these issues, then we could identify them at an earlier point and therefore refer these young people to these first response services earlier and ensure that they don't progress down this journey and therefore put lesser stress on these services that are already struggling. I have never suffered with my mental health. I've been incredibly lucky. But there are many young people today who have not been as lucky as I and suffer with their mental health. But if we work together, we can ensure that this deplorable state of affairs does not continue. We can ensure that we no longer fail the young people in Wales who do suffer with their mental health, because there have been many who we have failed. But if we work together on this issue to look at the way in which we refer young people and which we treat young people with mental health, we can ensure that we fail no more young people. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Ivan Price. Thank you very much. My name is Ivan Price and I'm the Youth Parliament Member for Ieuenctid. And when I travelled around the constituency and spoke to people, there were many things that shocked me. One of the things is how many people need mental health support. The second is the lack of support available for us. And third, the number of people who don't even know that there is support available if we are struggling. Now, broadly speaking, we need far more services for young people who struggle with their mental health. It's estimated that 3 in every class struggles with their own mental health. But in a school, there may be 1 counsellor working part-time for 2 days a week. And there's some 5 or 10 people who want to see them every week. Those numbers just don't stack up. But the schools can't cope. But even saying that, young people aren't aware what services such as CAMS and Mind are. Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service. People don't know what it is. I asked a class of 20 how many know what CAMS is, and there was 1 person with their hand up. So people aren't going to seek help because they don't know that help is available. But even if you are fortunate enough to know that CAMS exists, you go to your GP, and there are 2 things that happen. You're either refused a service because you look fine or there are other issues involved, or you go on a waiting list. And people who've gone through the system will know that it varies from 12 months, 3 months if you're lucky, or 3 years in some cases that I've been made aware of. 3 years can be a very long time when you're struggling with your mental health. We need to promote and improve mental health services. So I'm urging you, members of the Welsh Youth Parliament, we need to vote for this topic, because this is the most important topic. We saw with this survey that this is the thing that young people are most concerned about here in Wales. And as the Welsh Youth Parliament, we have to safeguard the young people of Wales and their mental well-being. Thank you. Thank you. Ieuenctid Fox-James is our next speaker. Ieuenctid.
Sometimes talking about my depression like it is some faraway boyfriend I am required to send love letters to makes it easier to ignore. Easier to blow off his clingy text until he knocks up, showing at your door. the one demanding his fees even if you've repaid all your debts, complying to his demands of self-hatred, starvation, cutting off your only friends just for his approval. Because watching the rope snap is like adding another bag of rocks to my back, the added burden that will always bring me back to my bed, the feeling of air drifting out my lungs as I make my fingernails bleed, resisting the monster that lurks at the back of my head. Where's the fairness of it all? Does he like watching me fall? Do you all like watching me falling down into a paradox of not being afraid of dying, but afraid of living? Because I am lonely. So I close my eyes. I take a deep breath. I build up the walls of my castle and create a girl. She is perfect. Why am I not perfect? She is invincible. Why am I so broken? She is the girl you see in this room, but she's not the one you'll see walk out of it. Everyone in this room will struggle with confidence at one point in their lives. Everyone in this room has the job of looking after our constituents, but no one in this room knows about anyone else's mental health. It's not a flag you can hold across your chest. It is not a light looming over my head. No one can see the grey cloud that I wake up to every morning. Jeremy is 16. He has troubles at home, but when he tries to tell his friend they tell him to get a life, that night he takes his life. Olivia, 14, she struggles with body confidence. Most days she doesn't eat. Teenagers everywhere are feeling alone. They have nowhere to turn. When suicide is the leading cause of death, why are we not supporting our people? Why are we not supporting young people? Mental illness is not as easy to spot as thunder. It makes everyone's vision cloudy, which is why I think we need to work with young adults in Wales, providing better support and education in and out of school. Thank you for listening.
Next speaker is Casey Jane Bishop.
Hello everyone, I'm Casey Jane and I'm representing Barnardos. I'm 15 and I'm from the Cynnon Valley. I grew up very quickly as I was a victim of domestic abuse and violence. I didn't know that someone so close to me could do that to anyone, especially me. It's affecting me now more than ever. I suffer with severe mental health problems and severe trust issues. I've been close to suicide 4 or 5 times. I found help and comfort in music and self-harm. Never underestimate how much pain somebody must be in to put a blade to their wrist, a finger to their throat, a gun to their head, or a pen to that note. Cutting. It is underrated, overlooked, and mocked. What people need to learn is that self-harm is a serious problem that needs to be solved and is not a fashion statement, phase, or joke of any kind. The main issue I would like to work on is mental health among young people in Wales. I personally am facing the challenges of having mental health in Wales, and it is not easy. There is not enough support in Wales for mental health in young people. I believe that teachers should have training in mental health as the numbers are increasing, especially with social media and society these days. As I said previously, I found help and comfort through music, and most schools do not allow music or headphones. I believe the schools could be a lot more flexible with mental health coping solutions, like allowing music and fidget toys, rooms for a quiet time, and most of all, someone who can help by talking and communicating. I can guarantee that at least one person in this room suffers with mental health, and that person is doing it all on their own. But I'm here to let you know that you are not alone. I'm Casey. I have mental health issues, and my mind is never quiet. Mental health is a battle, and we are the army. Together we can do this, I promise. I was reminded of this by some of you guys. This issue I want to tackle with you all is mental health and self-harm in young people.
Thank you, Casey. Next speaker is Manon Clark.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Manon Clark, and I represent Cardiff West. Today, I will be talking about mental health and emotional support, and why it is one of the key issues we should focus on over the next 2 years. In 12 days, it will have been a year since one of my friends, Manon Edie Jones, died by suicide. She just turned 16. I've been aware of mental health issues for much of my life. I regularly see articles about the negative effect social media can have on teenagers, the increasing rates of depression and anxiety, and the lack of pastoral care in schools. One thing that was never on my radar, though, purely because it was seen as something so extreme, so otherworldly, was suicide. When Manon died, it was as if our whole community froze. Life stopped for all of us. And for many, it's an ongoing struggle coping with her absence. But Manon was not defined solely by her mental health difficulties. She was sunny and full of life, so incredibly kind and caring, trendy, authentic and original, an excellent equestrian, and she was the type of influential young woman to have been in the Youth Parliament. 1 in 10 young people will experience a mental health problem, and nearly 3 in 4 people fear the reaction of friends when they talk about it. Mental health is the issue most commonly raised with the Children's Commissioner for Wales by children, young people, their parents and carers. Without support, mental distress can have a severe impact on children's happiness, well-being and development, their educational attainment and their potential to live fulfilling and productive lives. Let's take action now and support our future. Thank you.
Diolch, Manon.
Thank you, Manon. The next speaker is Ffion Griffiths.
Mental health. A person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. A topic featured in my key issues. A subject that's gained a lot of recognition in the media and the Welsh Assembly already due to the passing of the Wellbeing Act and our voices as the Welsh Youth Parliament. But it is not enough. My name is Ffion Griffith, representing the Islwyn constituency, and this is why we, the Welsh Youth Parliament, need to prioritise emotional and mental health support. 16 million people in the UK suffer from mental illness. A heartbreaking statistic that's made worse by the fact that 75% of mental illnesses start before a child's 18th birthday. And it's not only mental illness that we need to worry about. The overall well-being of children such as ourselves is already declining, with pressure from schools, our peers, the media and so much more. With more pressures now than ever on youths, more needs to be done. More to not only ensure that we as youth speak up about the challenges we are facing, but to educate us on the signs of mental health issues and ways we can try and better our mental health and well-being. When a boy in my class cries during a presentation because he feels like he's drowning in anxiety, what can he do? When my best friend is suffering from such severe depression that she can't leave her house, what can she do? And when I'm sat on my bed, tears burning my face like streams of distress due to the amount of pressure that's put on me, what can I do? Only a minuscule amount of people feel and know comfortable with the answer because of the lack of education and therefore label and stereotype that comes with mental health. She's just doing it for attention. He's just weird. Mental health isn't a label or a stereotype or a box to tick and say that you're suffering. It's personal and different for each and every person. And just because one person's situation isn't as bad as another's, it doesn't mean that their issues are not valid. Although it's impossible for us as a Welsh Youth Parliament to reach out to every single child in Wales, we need to make sure that they know it's okay not to be okay. Mindfulness sessions, mental health training, focus groups, charity events. Our options as the first ever Welsh Youth Parliament are endless. So to finish, I urge you all to think of a time when you were in a bad place, never thought you'd feel better again, and consider how the incredible difference we can make to mental health and well-being for youth in Wales would really have helped you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ffion. Next speaker is Abby Cooper. Abby Cooper.
Hello, I'm Abby Cooper and I represent Youth Cymru. Everyone in this chamber today, I'd like to draw your attention to one of the biggest killers amongst young people today, mental illness. Shockingly, 1 in 10 people will experience a mental health issue at any given time, and yet I have to say this in great despair, but 75% of young people with mental health issues aren't receiving any help. How many times do we as young people have to say that our mental health is important? How many crises does it take for a school to realise that our mental health needs to be balanced with exams? How many young people must die of suicide because of school pressure will it take for each and every school in Wales to realise that we as young people need to be given the right support for our mental health? We need to make sure that every school has the right resources to give every student support regarding mental health. We need to give every young person a free place to talk without being judged. We need to make sure that every student knows it's okay not to be okay. And if we can help with all this, we could prevent many deaths by suicide. We could prevent isolation, but most importantly, we can help them survive school and be successful in life. Because if you're not in the right frame of mind to succeed, how are you supposed to succeed at all? Members of the Welsh Youth Parliament, I invite you to join me today in putting mental health as one of our top issues, because it's something that needs to be tackled and it needs to be tackled fast. We are the future of this country, and we can help shape it into a greater place for young people. Because if we, as the Welsh Youth Parliament, talk about mental health, we can show how much of an issue it really is and what needs to be done to tackle it. I see 59 other determined Welsh Youth Parliament members here today who aren't afraid to have their voices heard, to speak passionately about the things that they care about. However, I've come to realise that whilst we're speaking on the issues that matter to us, there are thousands of people in Wales who are too scared to raise their voice about the one thing that matters, their mental health. Young people whose education is being affected, who feel alone, who feel like they can't reach out to anyone, could be the next doctors, the next politicians, the next world leaders. And yet that all could be jeopardised by something that could be prevented. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Siaradwr nesaf yw Eleri Griffiths.
The next speaker is Eleri Griffiths.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eleri Griffiths and I am 14 years old. I attend Reader Wine Comprehensive School and will be representing the views of young people from the Cynru Valley. The main issue I will be campaigning for is greater support and understanding around the anxiety and mental health issues faced by young people due to increased pressure in schools. Young people are bombarded with annual national and literacy tests from such an early age, and this is then replaced in Year 10 by continual mock GCSE tests, which add stress and worry to a child's life. There are many pupils like myself who find themselves tearful, stressed and put under unnecessary pressure to succeed. Childhood is meant to be a time of enjoyment, but it seems like this has been forgotten by the education systems that just seems to value academic attainments. Surely it would be valuing our well-being and happiness over how many A to C grades we achieve. I know that we need to be prepared with skills to help us in our future working life, but many of the exams seem to be around how much information you can recall and exam technique, which do not seem to be transferable skills in the average workplace. A greater emphasis should be placed on vocational courses that prepare you for a specific field of work. I feel it would be helpful pupils from Year 9 upwards if they had at least one lesson a week embedded into the curriculum around coping strategies and time for reflection using mindfulness or calming down techniques. They should also have a trusted adult available for them in this school setting to help them by talking through their worries and concerns during stressful periods. My school has 5 days a year where we learn about how to cope with school life and skills required in the workplace, which is positive, but I feel like this is still not enough as it's crammed into 1 week. What about the other times through the year where our emotional needs are unmet and pressures keeps on building up? I understand that many of you here today attend schools that do have sufficient support in place, but there are many that don't. This is why I am campaigning today in the Youth Parliament for a more consistent approach across every school in Wales for the future of many generations to come. Thanks for listening.
Diolch. Next speaker is Colin Jones.
It is with great pride that I can say that I'm a member of Wales's first Youth Parliament. The representation of young people and our ideas and opinions should be an integral cog in Welsh democracy, and it is with pleasure that I can say that our voice is now contributing to the successful progressive nation that Wales can be. Now, we all have something in common, and that is that we are determined to make our communities and country a better place for everyone. My first taste of politics can be attributed to the most recent and arguably most controversial referendum we have had in the history of the United Kingdom. It fascinated me how different ideologies interpret the world around us and how political activism and apathy can shape the societies we live in. The famous Euro 2016 finals, where Wales battled on to a semi-final finish, sparked a newfound patriotism for my country. I started to become curious about the history of Wales and the significance the Welsh culture and language has had in our communities. It led me to want to build a better Wales for everyone who wishes to make our country their home, and is why I'm sitting here today. In the next couple of years, working closely with the Welsh Youth Parliament and most importantly with each other, we are going to be able to offer positive change to the young people whom we represent, and this is why I want to highlight and work towards improving our mental health services, especially amongst the young people in Wales. I think a lot of people would agree with me when I say the approach we take to supporting young people with mental health issues in Wales is inadequate. In Blaen y Gwent, and I'm sure across Wales, the whole mental health provision is an issue that many people are passionate about. However, many people in my constituency feel that mental health services do not provide people with enough support and are only inclusive to those who are considered of concern, and that the support networks are not there for everyone who wishes to access them. Mental health is still being treated as second class to our physical health, and more needs to be done to ensure that mental health services are widely available, both inside and outside of school or work environment. The taboo regarding mental health isn't as prominent as once before, and we must continue to pave the way for progress and ensure this issue is at the top of our list of priorities. Mental health affects everyone, our friends, our family, everyone in this room, and myself. It isn't black and white. And this Parliament today has the opportunity to get behind this issue and cement mental health as a necessity, not a debatable topic. We are here to make a brighter future for all the young people who live in Wales, and it's our responsibility to act on behalf of our constituents and represent them to the best of our ability. I urge everyone here to vote on behalf of this issue so that we can break down the stigma surrounding mental health and make sure that every young person in Wales has access to the best mental health provision that they get, so no one is alone. Diolch. Thank you very much.
Diolch, Colin. Siaradwr nesaf yw Lois
Cameron.
Campbell.
Our next speaker is Lois Campbell.
Hello, fy enw i yw Lois Campbell.
Hi, my name is Lois Campbell. I'm 16 and I represent Carmarthen East and Dinefwr. The topic I want to present to you today and to encourage you to select is mental health. Mental health is a popular topic of conversation at the moment, particularly among young people, but I'm sure that each and every one of you here today will have heard the recent news on social media. So what better topic for you, the young people in the Welsh Youth Parliament, to back? Did you know that around 1 in 4 of us will experience an episode of some sort of mental health problem every year? This is a figure that will only increase unless support is made available. I believe that every school, every public body and every business should be employing a mental health specialist in order to make talking about mental health issues more common and more comfortable for everyone. We have to offer a listening ear to those who are suffering quietly. There are over 200 types of mental health problems, which include soft emotional issues such as anxiety and depression, and more serious such as multi-personality disorder. But all sufferers have to have support, whatever the level of severity. I'm sure that almost everyone here today may have felt anxious whilst at school, but hadn't received support. This must change before things go too far. But we must also recognise that mental health problems can often lead to extreme and serious consequences. When mental illness reaches a point where the individual can't cope with the stress and the pain, this can lead to very serious problems such as self-harm, bulimia, and in the extreme, suicide. Did you know that over 25% of people across Britain in the last year alone had considered suicide at some point? Consider that. A quarter of the population of Britain had thought about bringing their lives to an end. And I wonder if this is because there is no support available to them. So let us do away with the stigma and work together to ensure that there is support available for those with mental health problems before it's too late. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Our final speaker is Emily Kay.
Hello, I'm Emily. I'm 15 years old and I'm a representative for Senedd. My top issue is mental and emotional health of young people. I feel that, as the majority of us have been speaking up about it today, highlights the issue. At 15, such a young age to many, I've already seen the tragic effects of mental health issues. The suicide of a vulnerable young boy in my school, breakdowns over exams, and sleepless nights spent worrying about life. These reasons are just the tip of the iceberg of why I believe this issue is of utter importance. Every year, the stress burden on us young people increases. Thoughts such as careers, education, bullying, social media, these looming thoughts in our heads can be overbearing, and we need proper support to alleviate the stigma surrounding mental health. 1 in 4 of us in our lifetime will deal with a mental health issue. 1 in 4. So if there are 60 of us in the Youth Parliament, that equates to 15 of us in our lifetime going through this immense struggle. If it is such a common issue, why is it still being treated as an excuse or a choice? This needs to change, and now is the time for us to make that happen. Education, dialogue and support must be the key areas in which these issues are addressed. Educate by providing guidelines and training to all educational institutions in how mental health is to be discussed, approached and reformed. Encourage open dialogue in an understanding, mature manner. Offer your support to anyone who needs it. Mental health can affect anyone, and it is absolutely crucial that those who need the support and guidance are given the proper resources and means to do so. I'm Emily and I have mental health issues. Thank you for listening.
Diolch, Emily.
Thank you, Emily.
Nia Rose Evans
can't be with us here today, but she has sent a video which will now be played as her contribution to this item.
Hello
everybody, my name is Nia Rose Evans and I am the representative for Girl Guiding Cymru. Firstly, I would like to apologise for my absence at this meeting today, as I would have loved to be here with you all to discuss how we can improve issues in Wales together. I would like to ensure that I'm voicing and raising issues that do affect young people in Wales so we can improve them for the better. This is why I took it upon myself to conduct a survey amongst my peers to see what issues mattered the most to them. As a result, the issue which I wish to raise is mental health in children and young people. We can all be affected by our mental health issues, and in the UK right now, 1 in 4 people are living with a mental health condition. Research has identified that 1 in 10 children will experience a mental health difficulty at least once before the age of 11. In addition, 75% of all mental health related issues in adults start before the age of 18. Sadly, we cannot eradicate mental health problems, but we can provide as much support as possible to young people dealing with such issues. Mental health is just as important as our physical health. I believe schools could play an important role, and I would advocate for schools in Wales to pilot a scheme such as one which is being taken place in England and has been spearheaded by the Duchess of Cambridge and is called the Mentally Healthy Schools. This is why this would allow young people to know how to get support and help deal with their mental health related problems, and give teachers and other support staff the tools to deal with children experiencing such mental health related issues. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you agree with me that mental health is one of the issues we can tackle together to improve children and young people's lives in Wales.
Diolch I, Nia. That brings us to the end of the formal contributions to this section. There have been some very powerful contributions to this section. I'm now able to take any comments or questions that anybody has from the floor. We have some time for that, so I'll start here. Yes, you.
I just want to say, everyone who's speaking about mental health, that you're not alone. That's the first thing that needs to be said. You're very brave to specify your stories. There's a statistic that I was looking up the other day that really upset me. If you're a young man at the age from 15 to 21, you won't die to cancer. You'll die to suicide. That's the biggest killer in young men. That scares me. I'm 17, going to be 18 this year, and I'm much more likely to die by suicide than a car, than a train, than anything. It scares me. It frightens me. It frightens that my little brother's going to be in that same statistic. It frightens that one day I might have kids and they'll be in that statistic because nothing's changing. As a Welsh Youth Parliament, this was one of my 3 key issues when I originally started to run. This needs to be picked. It's not a debate, it's a necessity. If you don't struggle with mental health, Tom didn't, and he still picked it. He's never struggled with mental health, but he picked it because he knows how important it is. I urge you that you vote for mental health. Thank you.
Thank you. Contribution next door to you.
I completely agree with everyone, and the emotive language and stories used in the speeches just shows how powerful of a topic it is, and it is truly an epidemic in young people which we all need to address.
Thank you. Yeah, contribution here.
I think a lot of people talk about stuff from mental health and not understanding the services that are in place, but I think the biggest deal is finding out what needs to be done to tackle the issue, because we can talk about the issue and what people suffer with, but unless we know how to tackle the issue in young people, I think that needs to be reformed to help everyone.
Okay, and here, next to you.
Cytuno gyda popeth mae pawb wedi dweud mor bellach.
I agree with everything that's been said so far. Clearly, mental health is a huge issue for young people in Wales, but we need to help in working out how to deal with the problem. We're not going to be able to eradicate all problems, and we have to work in order to ensure that people can cope with their problems. Some of my peers, they do suffer from anxiety, and teachers will tell them, and people in mental health services tell them that they need coping strategies, but nobody tells them how to go about working out what will work best for them. So clearly, we need to get the right information out there to teachers and even to the mental health services too, not only to us as young people. They have to be able to help more too.
Right, okay. Sylw fyna.
Just to echo what you said there, but also what we really need to do with mental health. Let's say that you're in school. Do you have any lessons on what it is? I've had a case with one of my friends. He suffered from bulimia for 4 months, and in that 4th month, he found out what bulimia was. He thought he was entirely alone. He didn't even know that it existed. Then he found out in a biology lesson. The teacher said, well, it's an illness that can happen to some girls, and it can affect the esophagus. That was it. But in our primary schools, in our secondary schools, and later on, we need to learn exactly what is happening, how we can help people. If we learn at a young age, then it reduces the chance of us having those problems in the future. Thank you. Yes, behind you.
Yes. I don't know if I speak for everyone on this opinion, but I've noticed in recent years there's been a lot more talk and conversations around mental health, which is a brilliant thing in itself. But I think someone over there was saying as well, it's one thing to talk about it, but then it's another thing to start implementing things that can help. It's brilliant that we're having these discussions as a group and in a wider community, but there's only so much things that conversations can do. You really need to start implementing things in schools, in workplaces, coping strategies, telling people what they can do. It's one thing talking about it, but I think if we do, and probably will vote this in, I think the most important thing is putting structures in place to help those people.
Oh, yes.
So, to answer the fact that you're all saying we need to implement things. So one thing that could happen is we could put historical figures in our history lessons of people who have suffered with mental health difficulties. This would normalise the topic because obviously there's a lot of stigma around mental health. People don't want to talk about it. Like I said in my speech, 3 in 4 young people fear the reaction of their friends when they talk about mental health. So I think weaving it into the curriculum would probably normalise it.
Okay, let's take a few other topics. I'll go this side. I'll come here now. Yes.
I agree with everybody's statements on mental health support, but especially with IFANs with CAMS. I was sent to the GP by my school, and because how I looked fine. But then it took them another 4 months to realise that I missed about 2 months of school, and then I was sent back to the GP, and then it was going back to CAMS. But I missed 2 months of school, and they didn't realise I had anything wrong. So.
Yeah.
I can only agree with what's been said already. I think the major problem is that there is still a lot of stigma and social taboo around mental health. And people who suffer often see it as a weakness, and I think we need to emphasise that it's not a weakness. And I think the other problem is that it's crucial for those working with children to do first aid courses, yes, and it's fine to learn how to deal with physical injuries, but what about those mental problems? I think more should be done in educating people how to talk and how to deal with people with mental health problems, and to see how we can make improvements in this area. And I think first aid courses that bring that element of mental health into it would be a positive step forward and an assistance. Okay, anyone else from this block?
Okay, okay,
there's a comment here.
As Mal has said, people tend to tiptoe around the subject, but it's such an important thing to talk about. And it's something that everyone needs to realise that it happens to a lot of people. And you may not realise it, and we need to start acting on it now.
And behind you?
I think that mental health isn't talked about enough. So people who are suffering with mental health don't realise that they're suffering with mental health because they don't know what certain mental healths are. So I think that it definitely needs to be talked about more.
Okay. And here?
A lot of my friends have suffered with mental health in the past. Some of them have self-harmed. And a lot of our friends or family have suffered with mental health. Some of us have seen the most extreme outcomes of their suffering of mental health. And I think one problem with this is that people don't feel, young people especially, don't feel comfortable talking to adults or authority figures about stuff like this because they would rather talk to their friends. So I think peer-to-peer groups would be an amazing start because I personally, if I was going through things like this, I wouldn't feel comfortable enough to talk to an authority figure or just an adult, I'd speak to my friends about it. So.
Salona Kevin, yeah.
At the back.
Fi'n meddwl mae un o'r rhesymau mwyaf mae'n broblem mor fawr.
One of the reasons it's such a huge problem and so little is done about it is because it affects everyone in a different way, so there isn't one solution. It isn't visible, it isn't physical. But I do think, yes, we need to raise awareness, as you've said, Evan, and we also need to ensure that everyone has someone they can turn to. Because I'm lucky enough to have a family I can turn to and lots of friends, but for some people that isn't an option. So we need to ensure that services are in place so that people can speak about their feelings. I think that's one of the most important things and one of the things that we can take action on. Okay, some comments here.
I'd like to congratulate everyone on their very passionate speeches. So and it's also important to note that it's something that affects everybody. Dwi'n credu un o achosion o
one of the causes of mental health problems is what happens in our schools. We have endless exams and our cholesterol levels do build up. And the only opportunity we have in school to release our stress levels is in PE classes, and many people don't enjoy PE, so I do think that we need alternatives, such as mindfulness sessions in our schools for everyone, and support for all young people, because there are many people who are suffering and nobody would expect them to suffer, and they're suffering in silence, so we do have to provide a support for everyone. Behind you. Rather than just discussing the matter, we need to take action. So I do think that we should introduce education about mental health schools into primary schools so that young children can know where to turn if they're dealing with these problems. They need awareness of it, and there's a lack of accessibility too. People just don't know where to turn, so that's why we need to take action.
Who's left now that wants to contribute? A lot of contributions in this, so I'm going to work through them as quickly as possible. Yeah, Kevin.
The back. I think it's important that we focus on the fact that everyone has mental health just as everyone has physical health. It can be good, it can be bad, and I think we should be reminded of this in our schools, and then the dialogue will be far more open about it. I think it's something like that that we need to do. We need to to smaller scale, or we're not going to be able to make progress. So if we say, well, how are you? And they say, well, I'm fine. It's that dialogue that we need, and it can make a world of difference to someone who isn't feeling fine, but that there's someone that's happy to discuss it with them and next to you.
First of all, I'm going to say that was... sorry. That must have been hard for everyone who spoke about personal anecdotes, and I've got to say well done to you all. I think the main problem regarding it is that there's a lack of understanding for the people that don't suffer. I think that there needs to be more to be done for people to know how it feels who don't suffer from it. Yeah, sorry. Thanks.
Thank you. And yes, I'll take another comment from you.
I was going to say, even the use of, the support services that there already, we need to promote them, because as you said, most people don't even know that there are things out there that are already, and rather than establishing perhaps new ones, but we can already promote the ones that we do have and get them out there.
Thank you. A couple of comments from the front here. Yes, you first.
I think it's about finding a balance between trying to destigmatise these issues and then helping people when they do come forward, and helping, trying to nip these issues in the bud before they start out, because, like Charlie was saying, these issues don't discriminate. You can be rich, you can have all the things in the world that people would think that you'd be happy, and you can still suffer with mental health issues. I think people don't realise that, and when they do realise that, people will begin to come forward about their issues a bit more. But I do believe there should be a balance. There should be funding going equally into the prevention of these things, and when they do happen, because, some people have been saying, you can't eradicate these things, then the help and support available then.
Okay, next door to you.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said, Finlay. I mean, it's such a complex issue. We have to tackle everything at the same time to make an effect. We can't just focus on one main thing, whether that be diagnosis, how we treat it, how we destigmatise the issue. And so I'm sure that this will end up as one of the Youth Parliament's top 3 issues. So when it does, we need to address it as a systemic and full issue instead of just looking at one point of it.
Okay, and at the back, the two comments, you first and then...
I think one of the major issues that we need to help with combating mental health is the teachers, really. I spoke to a couple of my teachers a couple of weeks ago, and I asked them, have you ever had mental health training? Have you ever had suicide training? Stuff like that. And none of them said yes. You know, if mental health is one of the things which is increasing, shouldn't they really be having training on it? Isn't that something that should be mandatory for them?
And yes.
Thank you, Chloe. So, as Ivan mentioned before, around the area of sport, so I'm a Sport Wales Platinum Ambassador, and I'm on the National Steering Group, and something I'm trying to implement in my local authority with local schools, I'm trying to implement in other local authorities too, is by making sure that schools mandatory offer outside of PE lessons exam sport sessions. So, I don't know, you could be revising 4 nights a week, for example, and then on Friday night you would have a sports night run by the PE staff or your local authority where you would just have some fun, just time to chill out, and you know, it's just taking your mind off stuff like that. But I would also like to thank everyone, especially Tommy, because even though he hasn't got issues with mental health as he outlined, he still spoke very passionately about it. Thank you.
Okay, a few final comments from this side then. You first and Wedden.
I think one of the largest causes of depression and suicide, I think it's a statistic like 1 in 6, is due to having friends and family who are depressed or have committed suicide. It's like a chain reaction. So I think one of the key things that we need to do to prevent mental health illnesses and suicide is to actually help families who have gone through the loss of, or family and friends who have gone through the loss of a family member or a friend due to suicide, or who are struggling because someone that they know and are related to suffering from mental health illnesses.
Final comment to you.
So I'd just like to thank everyone who has given their own personal experiences with mental health. I know that was probably hard for you, but I've heard a lot of talk about solutions, and in my constituency of Bridgend, I've found the same thing, that a lot of people have found that there isn't a large amount of solutions, but I'm lucky enough to go to a school where they train students to be peer mentors, and they get them counselling qualifications, so that if you perhaps don't want to talk to one of our pastoral carers, and our pastoral carers are also very well trained, you can go and you can talk, I think it's a Tuesday and Wednesday lunchtime, to people who are more near your own age, who can give you a bit of help, a bit of guidance. And I think that maybe when we talk about solutions, and like one other has said, you don't feel like you can talk to a teacher or an adult. Sometimes maybe getting more counselling qualifications for young people, for students in schools, is something that we need to look at and can push forward on if this is an issue that is in the top 3.
And that was me thinking we were finished. I'll take 2 last contributions and that's it, because it's lunchtime then. For tea or Wedden and Kevin?
From you and then one at the back.
About mental health is maybe at a younger age to teach about emotional well-being, that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to feel anxious, it's okay to feel depressed, that these are normal feelings, and it doesn't mean necessarily that you've got a mental illness. And I think that's important to raise, that people should be taught how to deal with their emotions before it gets to a point of being a mental illness.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin.
One at the back.
Going back to what Abby said about teachers, Mind are currently running a project in my school, and it's a whole school approach aiming to target students, teachers and parents and caregivers. And honestly, it's fantastic. They've only recently started, but they ran a very large-scale survey in our school. And the teachers filled one out, just like we did. And 85% of my teachers said that they suffer from mental health issues. And we ask so much of our staff. And so, like Todd's school, they use students to help their own students. And I feel like that is probably the best approach, because not only can they relate to their fellow pupils, but it relieves the stress on teachers. They have jobs, they have lives. And if many of you have family who are educators or work within schools, you'll know it's not an easy job. And there's a massive tick list for each and every one of them. And they can't always keep up either. And so when you go to a teacher and you think, oh, they're not very helpful, well, think about how they feel. They're not finding their job easy. They want someone to talk to. And they haven't got that support. And so it's a wider topic than just us here. It's our teachers and our parents too.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. That's been a very popular and powerful section, and thank you all for your contributions.